So the interior of this M3 needs to be cleaned, but there are a lot of different materials throughout it. We have leather on the wheel, as well as the seats. We have carpet. We have even this like brushed aluminum on the dash and the doors. So what are the best products to use on all of these different materials, and what are the best methods to get the best results? Today, we are going to show you this, and this is the Gyeon way to do an interior detail. So what we recommend for the first step in any interior detail is a good vacuuming. This car has a lot of dirt and debris on the floor mats as well as the seats, so let's get started with that. All right, so we have vacuumed the entire car. All of the big debris has been removed. Now we're gonna move on to more of the specific cleaners. You want to clean the entire surface of the car before you do any sort of coatings or dressings, because you risk overspray with the cleaner getting onto a fresh coating, and that's not ideal for us. So we're gonna clean all of the surfaces before we move on to the dressing and coatings. So first thing we're gonna do is actually move on to the dash. Now this is actually a plastic or like vinyl material. So because of that, we're gonna use vinyl cleaner. This is a great plastic cleaning product. And the cool thing about this one is you can go straight from this to a coating once this product has been completely dried. You don't need to do a prep wipe or anything, which is cool. And then for the towel, we're actually gonna use an interior wipe. This is a newer product from Gyeon, and it's cool because it's two-sided. So one side is gonna be a short fiber, the other side is gonna be a medium fiber. The short fiber is actually what we're gonna spray the product into, and this is gonna be a little bit more of an aggressive side, so you can be a little bit more aggressive with it and have a little more cleaning power. And then the other one's gonna be what we use to follow it up and make sure there's no excessive cleaning products still on the surface. So I'm just gonna spray it directly into the towel. I'm not gonna spray onto the dash. And then it's as simple as wiping it across. You know, on the dash, it's gonna be mostly dust that you're removing, but you just wanna be pretty light with it. Be conscious of other surfaces that you could be touching, like the windshield. And it's as simple as that, just wiping it across there. I'm gonna flip it to the medium length side and just follow it up, make sure there's no cleaner still on the surface. Hit the corners, hit some of the vents up here. And it's easy as that. I think while we're here, we're gonna go ahead and hit the glass as well. So for cleaning all of the leather on the inside of this car, we're gonna use Leather Cleaner Mild. This is a great cleaner that has no softeners or conditioners, so it's great cleaner to use before LeatherShield that we'll talk about later. We're gonna use this in addition to the scrub pad. This is a newer product from Gyeon, and it's pretty cool. I definitely think this is a very versatile product, and you should have, even if you're a detailer or a DIY guy, this is a must. It's cool, it has a little scrubbing side and then a foam side for more dusting. But we're gonna use the scrub side on this wheel, the steering wheel. Typically the most disgusting part of a car. It's the part that you're pretty much touching the whole time. And a common misconception around the steering wheel is like the leather on it, if it's shiny, it's dirty. Shiny leather is dirty leather. So the cool thing about the scrub pad too is we're gonna be able to actually wrap around the steering wheel. Since it is round, it's gonna make it easier to clean. So I'm just gonna go ahead and spray into the pad itself, not onto the wheel, because there's a lot of buttons and other materials that we don't want overspray getting on. We got some plastic here as well as the horn area. So just sprayed a little bit of leather cleaner in here, and then we're gonna go ahead and just move it around the wheel and scrub. You can rotate around it with this pad, which is super nice. And we're gonna go ahead, you wanna work these hand areas on the side more. You know, common areas that you're resting your hand while driving are gonna be a little bit more dirty. This one's gonna go, I mean, we're already gross, as you can see. You wanna make sure this has stitching on the inside, which you obviously have to be cautious about. Shouldn't have an issue with it, but just be aware that it is there. And then we're just gonna keep adding more product to this and working our way around the wheel. And this thing's nice for getting in corners, like down in here, down where your thumbs would sit. And we're just gonna work all the way around. And then you don't typically want it to dry on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and wipe it off with the Gyeon leather wipe. These are white towel, and these are cool because it'll actually show you all of the dirt and stuff that you're removing. I mean, that's gross. That's nasty. So all this we want to pull off before we apply a coating and really seal in anything on that leather. And because it's the steering wheel, I'm probably gonna go ahead and hit it a couple times just to make sure that it's fully cleaned, to make sure I got all the areas in the backside that you can't see while sitting here. And yeah, it's gonna be nice and clean and ready for coating. So after this, since we're already on leather, let's move to the seats. Now we're moving on to the biggest leather surface of the car, the seats. Now it's going to be a very similar cleaning process to the steering wheel, but it's going to be a bit different because you have a lot of crevices and larger surface areas to clean. So I'm actually going to use two tools to do this one. We're going to use the scrub pad like we used on the wheel, but I'm also going to use a nice soft leather brush. Now the leather brush is going to be great for getting in all these corners and these seams on the seat. And then for the bigger surface areas, we're gonna be able to use the pad, and this will cover more area and just be a more efficient process. Now for this, we're still gonna be using Leather Cleaner Mild, and I'm gonna spray directly into the brush just to prevent any sort of overspray or excessive product getting onto the seat. So I'm just gonna go ahead and spray a good amount into the brush, and then just gonna start working it around the seat. Now you do want a good amount of suds when doing this, because that emulsifies all the dirt and debris and allows you to wipe it off quite easily. For these bolsters, I'm going to just use the brush. It covers it pretty well, and you want to make sure that you scrub on all these stitch seams in here. Dirt likes to sit down in there. And you know, you can work a bigger surface at a time, but I'm gonna kind of work in smaller sections just to make sure that every area is completely cleaned. Go ahead and wipe it with the leather wipe. Make sure you get down in those seams when removing the cleaner as well. And I'm just gonna keep working my way around the seat. So the entire interior of the car has now been cleaned. We're gonna move on to the dressings and coatings to make sure it's all protected. First thing we're gonna do is the dash. I kind of like to work top to bottom. And because this is interior plastics, the only Gyeon product I'm gonna reach for is Preserve. This is a super easy to use product. It's also pretty versatile that you can use it on plastic as well as like weather stripping and rubber items. But for the towel or applicator we're gonna use is actually one of the microfiber applicators. These are pretty nice. It's just got a little pocket that you can put 3 fingers in there, and a little product goes a long way here. So I'm just gonna give it a couple squirts in here. Make sure that it's kind of spread around nice and even on here. And then when actually applying, you want to apply as evenly as you can. And what I do like to do with this product is follow it up with a wipe with a dry towel just to make sure that there's no concentrated areas of the product. But this one you can actually go in circles. It's a good way to make sure that it's nice and even on there. And this product's pretty easy to see when you're using it. And since plastic is a bit porous, it will absorb in there. But it's super easy to use, like I said. The wipe on's super easy. Has a nice, almost like candy scent to it. And then we're just gonna make sure it's even all the way across there. And with this product, it doesn't hurt to work in small sections at a time. This looks pretty good. I'm gonna double check it and do a follow-up with a towel if it's necessary. Then when we're done there, we're gonna move on to the steering wheel. So for protecting the leather on this car, mainly the steering wheel and the seats, we're gonna use LeatherShield. This is an actual true SiO2-based ceramic coating designed specifically for leather. And the cool thing about this one is it doesn't add a sheen or slickness, which is important for the steering wheel. It also adds hydrophobic properties to leather and makes them easier to clean. So we're talking like dye transfer and stuff like that. Now, if this car had any aniline leather, we would be reaching towards leather coat, but since it doesn't, we're gonna use LeatherShield. And there's a couple other areas that we might touch as well, but the main thing is gonna be the steering wheel and the seats. So let's get started with that. For applying LeatherShield on the steering wheel, we're gonna use the bottle and then just one of these suedes. Now it comes with a block, but because it's a round surface, it doesn't really make sense to use that on here. So go ahead and crack this guy open. Usually a good idea to open any coating outside of the car for that exact reason. And then I'm gonna go ahead and drip a fair amount on here. Kind of want to spread it fairly evenly. And that should be enough. You want to do a little bit more than you'll typically do. I'm gonna actually set this out of the car just to make sure. And then it's gonna be pretty standard procedure for the steering wheel. You're just gonna be able to wipe it on and you can see it going on there. And the cool thing about this product is you don't have to wipe it off. So you basically just want to make sure the entire surface is hit. And you don't want to forget about the back side of the steering wheel. And I'm just going to work my way around. Make sure you get in the corners where your fingers will go. And if it's necessary, you can follow it up with a wipe of like a clean microfiber towel. For that, I would probably recommend either a clean leather wipe if you have it or a bald one. But it's super easy procedure. And then you can see it actually on the leather and then it'll sit there. Let's say check in about 10 minutes and make sure that it's all soaked in and even. And then you're good to go from there. We're gonna let that sit, and now we're gonna move on to the seats. So when applying LeatherShield on seats, I'm gonna use both the suede individually as well as the suede on the block. And the reason for that is because all of these big surface areas, we wanna make sure that LeatherShield is even on there. So what I'm actually gonna do is use the suede first and hit all the corners, and then I can use the block and the suede to go across and make sure all of the area is covered. Now, I'm gonna follow it up with a wipe, with a bald wipe. And the reason why we're able to use this blue towel on these seats is because they're black. Whereas if these seats were a white or like ivory color, I would lean towards the leather wipe, which is a white color. You just don't wanna risk any sort of dye transfer getting onto those seats during the ceramic coating process. So let's go ahead and get started with that. All right, so it's time to address the floor mats. Now, these are the original floor mats from 2008. The car's fairly low mileage, but they're definitely dirty, and we're gonna use fabric cleaner. You can clean carpet without an extractor. Not everyone has one, so I wanna show you how we would go about that. Now, the thing about this is you wanna kinda use it in areas that you see dirty. You can kind of be a little bit more aggressive in those spots. And then for just the general carpet areas, the bigger areas, you want to be pretty light with the product. You don't want to put so much product on there that you can't remove it. So we're going to spray it on with this. We're going to agitate it with a soft bristle brush, and then we're going to remove it with just a bald wipe, which is a short pile towel. All right, so this is now clean. It's looking pretty good, but something that's super important to know is that this needs to be completely dry before we can apply fabric coat. So I think we're gonna go grab some coffee and then we'll come right back. So this is Q2 fabric coat. This is actually a coating for fabrics and upholstery. Now, what's cool about this one is it makes your carpets hydrophobic in case you were to like spill coffee or any sort of drink. The water would sit on top for long enough so that you can grab a towel and clean it properly. It also repels dirt, which makes the cleaning process easier. Now, there's some stuff to consider when applying this. I recommend making sure you're in an area with good ventilation when using this. It does smell pretty aggressive, but outside's probably your best bet. A big space like this works as well, but definitely take that into consideration if you're using it on the carpets inside of your car. Make sure the doors or windows are open. Also, a little product goes a long way. So this does have a sprayer applicator on the top. And basically what I'm gonna do is spray it on the carpet, and then I'm going to use a rubber glove. Don't do this barehanded, use a rubber glove, and I'm going to use that to basically move the fibers, and that works the product evenly on the surface. And then at the end, definitely one thing that you want to consider is when you leave this to dry, make sure that all the fibers are in one direction, because it might actually hold the fibers just slightly in that pattern, whatever you have. So I'm gonna make sure that they're all pointing in this direction towards the end. So it's a super easy application. Like I said, a little product goes a long way, but we're gonna go ahead and just be conscious of overspray. Don't be spraying it from back here. You know, you wanna be maybe like 8 to 10 inches away. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and make sure the whole surface is covered, work it in with my hand, and it should be pretty easy. So I'm gonna make sure to move the bottle as I'm spraying it. And that's honestly all it's gonna take. Now I'm gonna just work the fibers, and this is moving them, allowing the liquid to actually work down into the fiber and make sure that they're all completely covered. I'm gonna go both directions with this. You know, you can do this a couple times just to make sure that it is properly covered and everything's properly done. I'm gonna go ahead and just go one more time this way. And then, like I said, to finish it off, I wanna make sure all of the fibers are pointing one direction. So I'm gonna go ahead and just wipe this single direction, making sure they're all looking pretty flat and even. Now, a cool thing you can actually do with this is, I'm sure you guys have seen like people use a brush and create lines in carpet. You can do this and it will hold a bit longer when using fabric coat. Now, a point that I want to touch on is that this is not actually changing the stiffness of the fabrics. They're still going to be soft, but they will hold design just a little bit more when doing so. So, I mean, it's pretty simple. That's about it. All of them are facing the right way. Now, the car's pretty much done. Let's get this back in there and finish it up. And that's a wrap. The interior of this car has been completely cleaned and protected with Gyeon, and now any sort of dirt or liquids that are spilled in it down the road will be much easier to clean. All of the products we used in today's video are linked in the description below. And if you guys like this video or detailing content in general, please consider subscribing. Catch you all later.